Ancient Greeks' hidden knowledge of giant reptilians. Well, the first source is from the sources, the ancient texts concerning the battles between the Titans and the giants. Apollodorus mentions that after the Titanomachy, the Olympian gods faced and defeated with great difficulty a terrible race of anthropo-reptilian beings, the mighty giants as they called them. And let's remember that the viper here, the woman, half snake, was a beautiful siren type of thing, enticing men to their death. And of course, the first king of Athens, half man, half snake, was King Ericythonius. So it goes. Now, going back to the texts, and earth, indignant at the Titans, gave birth from heaven to the giants, unsurpassing in the size of their bodies and unrivaled in their strength, who looked terrible in appearance with long manes and beards hanging from their heads, and had in the lower part of the scales of dragons. They were born, as some say, in Plagiaris of Halkidiki, northern Greece, and according to others in Palini of the area of Athens. Palini, Halkidiki again, northern Greece. Rocks and flaming oaks were hurled into the sky. Among them were Porphyrion and Alcyonius, who in fact, as long as he fought in the land where he was born, was immortal. Also he snatched from Erythia the cows of Helios. He had, and an oracle was given to the gods that none of the giants could be slain by them, but if any mortal allied themselves with them, they would die. And when the earth was informed of this, she took for her a herb, so that the giants could not be killed even by a mortal. He took the herb and threw Athena, the goddess Athena, called Hercules, as an ally, and he first shot Alcyonius with a bow, but as he fell to the ground, he got up again. But after Athena's advice, Hercules dragged him out of Palini. And he died thus, while Porphyrion rushed in the battle against Hercules and Hera. Hera was Zeus' wife, as we know, one of his wives. But Zeus instilled in him lust for Hera, who, while he tore her veils, wanted to rape her, asked for help. And after Zeus struck him with lightning, Hercules shot him with a bow and killed him. As for the rest of the giants, Apollo shot out the left eye of Ephialtes, and Hercules the right one. Mimantes, Hephaestus threw at him myriads red-hot irons. Mithras, Athena threw the island of Sicily at Enceladus, who had fled, and after flaying the skin of Pallas, she covered his body with it during the battle with her. Polyvotis, pursued by sea by Poseidon, arrived at Kos, the island of Kos, across from western Turkey today. When Poseidon detached a part of the island called Nisiros and threw it on him, and Hermes, wearing the hound of Hades during the battle, killed Hippolytus. Artemis killed Greton and the Fates, fighting with bronze clubs, Igreus and Thuonas. The other giants were killed by Zeus, hurling lightning at them, and all of them, while they were dying, were struck by Hercules. Hesiod mentions that the giants were born from the blood of Uranus, spilt on Gaia, when Saturn cut off her vulva, but he does not mention the battle of the Titans, Giganomachy, as the conflict of Olympian gods with the giants is known. Quote, and these, the vulva of heaven, did not escape from the hand of Saturn in vain, because Gaia received all the drops of blood that were shed, and during the cyclic passage of the Enneads, that's long periods of time, she gave birth to the craters of the Erinas, the great giants, who shone in their weapons, long spears in their hands, and the nymphs they called Melias in the infinite earth. The Greek poet of the 3rd century, Apollonius of Rhodes, reports that Mimas was killed not by Hephaestus but by Ares. This agrees with the Athenian vase painting of the classical era, in which Mimas is referred to as Mimon and depicted not as a semi-reptile but as an anthropomorphic warrior, hoplite. The Greek historian of the 1st century BC, Diodorus Siculus, states that according to the Egyptians, the Hercules who fought in the Battle of the Titans, Giganomachia, was not the son of Zeus and Alcinacmene, who is known as the Amphitryon Hercules, but another, much more ancient Hercules. For as they all confess that Hercules fought with the Olympian gods during their war against the giants, they, the Egyptians, say that it is not at all fitting for the earth to have given birth to the giants at the time when the Greeks say that Hercules was born, one generation, that is, before the Trojans of the Trojan War, but rather, as they say, during the time of the birth of humans, because from that time to today the Egyptians count more than 10,000 years, while from the Trojans less than 1,200 years. This is undeniably correct, since the Battle of the Titans, Giganomachia, took place shortly after the Titanomachia, Battle of the Titans, Battle of the Giants, which was much older than the Trojan War, while Amphitroniades Hercules killed two monstrous children of the Battle of the Giants successor Typhon, the Lernaean Hydra, and Orthus. Obviously, Amphitronides Hercules was a reincarnation of the more ancient Hercules, and precisely for this reason the Greek myths confuse them. The Greek geographer and historian of the 1st century BC, A.D. Strabo, states that according to some, apparently mainly residents of Italy, the Battle of the Giants was fought not in northern Greece, Chalkidiki, but in the flagrant fields of Campania, Italy, the plain around the latter of the city of Kimi. And according to his version, some giants were rescued in the southeast of Italy in the area of the later small town of Lefka. The Lefka is also Polychny, where the source of fetid water is shown. They mythologized that the giants who survived in Phlegra in Campania, who were called Lepterni, were chased out by Hercules, and they took refuge there, where they were covered by the earth. From their shores, the source in question does not have such a current, but that is why they call this beach Lepternia. Also, Strabo mentions, according to the prevailing Chalkidian version of the Battle of the Giants, that some giants escaped to Mykonos, but they were also exterminated by Hercules. Mykonos is not the one under which they mythologize that the last of the giants lie, who were exterminated from Hercules. Also, Strabo says the same about Polyvotis as Apollodorus. Quote, they say that the island of Nisyros, which today we know is a volcanic island, they say the island of Nisyros is a detached part of Kos, adding the myth that Poseidon pursued one of the giants, Polyvotis, detached a piece with his trident of Go, and threw it on him, and what was found was Nisyros, who has written this giant under her, but some say that he lies below Kos. So the legend goes that Polyvotis lies below the volcanic island of Nisyros, and whenever Polyvotis is angry and sighs through his nostrils, the volcano erupts. Now, the Roman poet of the 1st century D. Statius mentions that when Enceladus tries to change sides, above him the fiery mountain Etna thunders from its foundations, and its peaks are flooded with lava. That is, he considers that Enceladus is overwhelmed by Etna, but is not dead and causes its volcanic eruptions through its movements. The Greek poet of the 4th century AD does not mention the same. Quintus Smyrnaeus even called Enceladus immortal. The Greek mythographer of the 1st to 2nd centuries AD, Ptolemy Hephaestion, mentions that the giant who was killed by Hercules when he attacked Hera, Porphyrion, was pyropnos, that is, had fiery breath, like as in volcanic eruptions. Also, Ptolemy of Hephaestion mentions a giant named Leo. Quote, Hercules wore the skin not of the Nemean lion, but of Leo, one of the giants who was killed by Hercules after challenging him to a duel. of the New History of Ptolemy Hephaestion, and this giant is identified with a lion-headed and otherwise anthropomorphic giant depicted on the reliefs of the altar of Pergamum. So obviously he was semi-lion-like, while the Hercules wearing this skin was certainly not Amphitryon but the elder Hercules. Also, Ptolemy of Hephaestion mentions a giant named Damesus. Quote, he, the centaur Chiron, dug up the body of the giant Damesus, which was lying in Pallene. Damesus was the fastest of all the giants, and removed his ankle, which he adapted to integrate with medicines the left leg of Achilles. The Roman mythographer, 2nd century AD, Hyginus states that Gaia gave birth to the giants not from Uranus but from Tartarus. Quote, from Gaia and Tartarus were born the giants, Enceladus, Coils, Elendus, Morpheus, Astræus, Pelorus, Pallas, Amphitus, Rhoecus, Lennius, Agrius, Alamon, Ephialtes, Eritus, Emphracordan, Thermomesis, Theodamas, Otus, Typhon, Polyvotis, Mephiaros, Abyssus, Colophon, and Iapetus, according to Myth's prologue. Quote, this version, however, is unquestionably wrong, since Hesiod, on whom Apollodorus is based regarding the origins of the giants, is much older than Hyginus, hence closer to the mythological events, and like himself states he was taught the theogony of by the Muses. Now also, Hyginus is wrong about 5 of the 24 names of giants that he mentions. Coius and Iapetus are Titans, and Astræus the son of Titan Ares and Erebia, daughter of Pontus. Otus was a giant, but the son of Poseidon and Iphimedia, and Typhon was a giant and the son of Tartarus and Gaia, but he does not belong to the Phlegraean giants. Also, Hyginus mentions that according to some of the Battle of the Giants, it's connected with the constellation of the dragon. Quote, some do not say that this dragon, the constellation of the dragon, was thrown by the giants against Athena when she was fighting against them, but Athena seized the writhing dragon, hurled it into the stars, and placed it right at the pole of the sky. Thus to this day it is seen with its body coiled, as if it has been transferred to the stars. The Greek sophist of the 2nd to 3rd century AD, Philostratus, cites the opinion of the ancient Greek philosopher of the 1st century AD regarding giants. Apollonius the Timaeus, quote, because they, the poets, say that a certain Typhon or Enceladus has been bound under the condition of Etna, and that dying late he breathes out a fire, this fire of Etna, I do not admit that there have been giants and that such bodies are discovered in many parts of the earth when tombs are broken up, but not that they clashed with the gods, but that they probably insulted their temples and shrines, and that the giants jumped on the heaven and tried to expel the gods from there. It is paranoid both to say it and to believe it, end quote. Also, Philostratus mentions that sometime before his time, the skeleton of a flagrant giant was discovered in Kos. Quote, in fact, 4 years ago, Hymnius Peparithius, who is my friend, sent one of his sons to inquire about me, Protesilaos, about a similar miracle, for which he happened to be digging vines in the island of Kos, which is his entire property. The earth resounded to the diggers as if empty, in whose skull dwelt a serpentine dragon. So the said youth came to ask what they should do with him. And Protesilaus replied, let us cover the stranger completely, apparently urging that they should rebury the dead man and not willingly left uncovered. He also said that this was one of the hurled by the Olympian gods giants. Also, Philostratus mentions that many of the giants were thrown by the Olympian gods below the volcanic Mount Vesuvius, which is located at the southern end of the Campagna Flegra, and the Neapolitans, the people of Napoli, who live in Italy, Naples in Campania, near Vesuvius, considered the bones miraculous of Alcyones. They even say that many of the giants have been thrown there by the Olympian gods, and that Mount Vesuvius smokes on them. He also mentions that one of the giants crushed by Vesuvius is Enceladus, who has not died but is slowly dying, constantly exhaling the fire of Vesuvius. Also, Philostratus mentions that in Pylene, many skeletons of giants were preserved until his time. He said, quote, "And indeed in Pylene of northern Greece, which the poets call Phlegra, the earth contains many such bodies of giants who had encamped there, and the rains and earthquakes reveal many of them. He does not trust that region, not even a shepherd at noon, because of the uproar made by the ghosts of the giants who rage within the earth," end quote. Nonnus calls the giants Dracondokomos or Echindokomos. That is, they give birth to reptilians. That is, that instead of hair they had coils of serpentine dragons. Gigenis, born from earth, wandering people of the earth, and serpent sons of the earth. He also states that the giants had a total of 200 hands. That is, they were a total of 100, and they pressed with their multi-necked heads the star circle, the heavenly dome, and that from either side of their shoulders, waters gushed forth, very larger than the Inachian hydra, the Lernaean hydra, which hissed incessantly in the ether in the neighborhood of the stars. He also names another giant, Chthonius, while he mentions Pelorus as Peloreus. In the Byzantine dictionary of Suidas, which was written in the 10th century and is based mainly on ancient Greek sources, another giant, Aristeus, is mentioned. Quote, "Aristeus, one of the giants who was rescued from the Battle of the Giants. They say that he was rescued from the Gigantomachia only by the giant Aristeus on the Sicilian mountain called Etna, and neither heavenly fire came against him, nor did Etna press him. Etnaean beetle, a kind of a beetle, the great one, because also the mountain Etna is great. They say that only the giant Aristeus was saved from the Battle of the Giants, and neither heavenly fire came against him, nor was Etna pressing him," end quote. From these entries, it suggested that Aristeus was saved by being transformed by Gaia into an Etnian beetle. From the above-mentioned Athenian vase painting, we learn of another giant, Photius, while from 3 other Athenian vase paintings of the classical era, we learn of 7 other giants, Pangratis, Uranian, Amphorbus, Eubius, Hyperbius, Agasthenis, and Euryalus. However, in these vases, the giants are depicted not as semi-reptilians, but as anthropomorphic warriors. The same is not the case with all the other flagrant giant vase paintings found. From the reliefs of the Pergamon altar, we learn about Apollodorus meant that he said that giants, quote, had their undersides the scales of dragons. That is, from the top up they were human, and from the bottom down they were reptilian. And these, therefore, with the exception of Leo, the giants are depicted as andromorphic up to the buttocks, but with 2 coils of serpentine dragons instead of feet. Okay, so in the mosaics of the Sicilian mansion of the 4th century AD, the giants are depicted slightly different. They are man-like up to the knees, and below them they have 2 coils of snake. So this is from Fourakis Kea, Sirius A News, and I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.